Or that sounds great.
Stops everything.
You got to photograph me
Tell me
with
what
the
you want to do.
size.
Okay, this is your cap. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the grand finale. We heard about surgical strike and whatnot. General, it's your turn to ask whatever questions. It is my great privilege and honor to invite Lieutenant General of the U.S. Force, Honorable Jack Weinstein. Welcome to the
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to thank the Institute for Korean-American Studies for convening this symposium, and by doing so, strengthening our dialogue with our partners across the Pacific. I'd also like a special thank you to Dr. Kim.
Thank you.
For inviting me to speak today. I am honored to be here to discuss a topic that is critical to the security of our two nations and indeed the international community. I'm sure you've all noticed an increase in the discussion of the role of nuclear weapons in the international security environment recently here in the United States and across the globe, especially in the Asia-Pacific area. Secretary Carter recently stated that 4 of the top 5 Department of Defense challenges all reside within the Pacific. Let's look at the world through the lens of several of those nations: Russia, China, and North Korea. Last week, Russia suspended a cooperative weapons-grade plutonium disposal agreement with the United States. At the same time, the administration has determined that Russia is in violation of its obligations under the INF Treaty. The Chinese government is also testing international law by building islands in the South China Sea, expanding their exclusive economic zone. $5.3 trillion of trade is shipped over the South China Sea each year, $1.2 trillion of which supports the United States. Further expanding their maritime presence, China is projected to have 90 submarines by 2025. Chinese aircraft are also challenging U.S. air power through intercepts of our aircraft. The Chinese are not the only nation expanding their capabilities. North Korea launched their 3 ballistic missiles on September 5th, and on August 24th, test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile. North Korea conducted their 4th nuclear test at the beginning of this year, and another nuclear test, their 5th test this fall. And according to their leader, we now have the clear capacity to directly and realistically attack Americans. They continue to menace the international community with further testing and undermine the security of the Korean Peninsula and the region. Our world is a dangerous, complicated place, and our friends in South Korea know this better than most. They experience this every day. So what do? How to create stability and guarantee security on the peninsula and in the region? Nuclear deterrence plays an important role in achieving strategic stability. Let me take you back in time. The horrors of World War I were unprecedented. All in all, over 16 million people were killed. The battles of Verdun and the Somme each saw casualty counts above 1 million. Of course, it wasn't called World War I at the time, but in the aftermath, the level of devastation was recognized to be so catastrophic that it became known as the Great War, or the war to end all wars. That was grossly optimistic. Humanity's losses in World War II dwarfed World War I's. 60 million people lost their lives during World War II. 45 million of those casualties were civilians. In total, 2.8% of the world's population perished. 2.8%. So in a time period of 31 years, 75 million people, and that number is conservative, were killed in the 2 world wars. Since the beginning of the nuclear age, major powers have not fought war against each other. Total deaths in battle since the end of World War II are roughly 0.1% of the current world population. In the Vietnam War, 3 million people were lost, and that is a tragedy. But it was less than 0.1% of the world's population in 1975, not 2.8%. I believe this nation's nuclear capability is the primary factor in this refrain from massive conflicts and created the strategic stability we have enjoyed since the later half of the 20th century. Though my work for the United States Air Force today focuses on advocating for the capabilities that underpin strategic stability, the land and air-based legs of the U.S. triad, intercontinental ballistic missiles and dual-capable bombers and fighters, a capability alone is insufficient to assure the security of the United States and its allies. Deterrence is not just about capability. It is not about any one platform or any one weapon. Deterrence is capability multiplied by will. Capability alone is not enough. Without will, even the most advanced and intimidating capability lacks the ability to deter. Our capabilities must be paired with commitment, the resolve to stand with our allies and stand behind our words with action. We must recognize that half of the deterrence equation is our will, and our will supports our allies and our partners. Our alliance is strong because the United States is a Pacific nation that has maintained a diplomatic, economic, and military presence throughout our history. We have always been and will continue to be a Pacific nation, and will continue our steadfast commitment to the Asia-Pacific region, in particular to our allies, such as the Republic of Korea and Japan. Today's world is more complex and uncertain. Instead of a bipolar world, we live in a multipolar, proliferated world. We can use all these fancy words, but this is a dangerous place. The Pacific is home to 7 of the world's 10 largest standing militaries. 2 of the 3 largest economies are located in the Asia-Pacific region, a region of 36 nations and 3,000 languages. Also includes the world's busiest international sea lanes and 9 of the 10 largest ports. But we are not just a Pacific nation. We are a global nation, which includes our military capability. The military forces the U.S. is responsible for organizing and training and equipping are only one aspect of the power the United States brings to the table. The strategic complexity facing the region is unique and requires a robust, combined whole-of-government approach. So how do we deter adversaries and keep our allies safe in a dangerous and complex environment? As we always have and will continue to do, with an unwavering commitment and prudent action. As the President and Secretary of Defense have stated on numerous occasions, the United States is committed to the defense of the Republic of Korea, and any attack on the United States or its allies will be defeated, and any use of nuclear weapons would be met with an effective and overwhelming response. All our capabilities would be on the table, not just those forces that we have stationed on the peninsula. The forces we do have on the peninsula are quite significant. Roughly 28,500 U.S. forces, plus approximately 100,000 family members. This is a very concrete example of our commitment to the defense of the Republic of Korea and represents significant deterrence and combat power. The airmen, sailors, soldiers, and Marines on the peninsula are only one piece of the U.S. commitment. Though roughly 3/4 of PACOM is the maritime domain, the air domain covers all of it. The combined capabilities of the United States military ensure our regional posture supports a deterrent to North Korea, since in the event of a crisis or conflict, we could quickly bring additional forces to bear, including air power coming out of Japan, Guam, and the United States. The continuous bomber presence on Guam since 2004 is one example of U.S. presence. The United States maintains the global power and reach to support and defend our allies. The Air Force regularly supports combatant commanders conducting bomber operations across the globe to maintain a high state of readiness and proficiency, and demonstrates our ability to provide an always-ready global strike capability. In August 2016, B-2 bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri deployed to Guam and participated in a continuous bomber presence mission with B-52s from Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota and B-1s from Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. For the first time, all three of Global Strike platforms, two of which conduct nuclear deterrence operations, were co-located at Anderson Air Force Base. The mission marks the first integrated operational mission in the Pacific area for all three bombers. But our commitment to our Asia-Pacific allies goes beyond a region or a base. Today, airmen around the globe are executing nuclear deterrent operations. Airmen at Whiteman, Barksdale, and Minot are training on and maintaining the aircraft that deploy around the globe. But don't forget that the umbrella of deterrence begins in the heartland of America. Our missileers at Minot Air Force Base, F.E. Warren Air Force Base, and Malmstrom Air Force Base stand guard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, allowing our conventional forces to project power around the world to deter attack against the United States and our allies. Remember what President Obama said in Prague in 2009. We will seek the peace and security in a world without nuclear weapons. President Obama continued to say, I'm not naive. This goal will not be reached quickly, perhaps not in my lifetime. As long as these weapons exist, the United States will maintain a safe, a secure, and effective arsenal to deter any adversary and guarantee the defense to our allies. While we seek to create together the type of world in which nuclear weapons would be unnecessary, our commitment to our Asia-Pacific allies is ironclad. The world can be a complicated and dangerous place, including the Korean Peninsula. The United States Air Force remains fully prepared and capable of defending itself and our allies with a full range of extended deterrent capabilities available, including conventional, missile defense, and nuclear capabilities. The continued importance of the nuclear mission is seen in the Pacific region daily. Our Air Force nuclear forces are at war every day, providing our nation and our allies with a blanket of protection. There is an opportunity for our alliance to demonstrate not just our resolve as nations, but as a united voice resolved to work for peace, security, and stability. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. It is really reassuring that General Weinstein is here. Since you mentioned PACOM, in the spring we hosted Admiral Harry Harris, right? At this platform, we have his commitment. So now we have your commitment.
Well, more importantly, you have
Yes.
the President's commitment
Oh, yes.
and the Secretary of Defense's commitment.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Now, first, inbound, General, come around here, please. Come around here, yes. In front.
Hey.
Okay. He's the Lieutenant General, become Korean Army, retired, just retired. So I want you to.
That's a very honorable title,
Yes.
retired.
Every day is a Saturday.
Okay.
Okay.
It's my understanding that during the Cold War, 60s and 70s, if the Soviets or anybody else fired nuclear weapons at the United States, that instead of trying to shoot them down, a response would be conducted towards the launch country. Is it the same now? In other words, if a nation would fire a missile or a rocket towards the United States, does the United States have the capability to first shoot these down and then respond, or is it the same?
Well, that is the whole purpose behind the missile defense activities of the United States. When you go back to the 60s or 70s, we had a capability that was in North Dakota at one time. It was operational, I believe, for a day or two, and then it was taken down, and the place was up in Cavalier, North Dakota. When President Reagan saw that we didn't have a capability, he was the one that started us on that path. So today we have the capability both with interceptors located in Alaska and interceptors located in California, as well as activities, and it's not my expertise, but activities capability located on ships as well as radars to provide that capability.
So a follow-on question would be, even if the North Koreans fired 2 or 3 missiles, it wouldn't be that big of a problem, would it?
I'm not, firing a weapon at the United States or our allies is a problem, pure and simple.
Yeah, but you would be able to shoot it down, do you think?
Well, I will say, we have the capability to shoot down ballistic missiles. I'll just leave it at that. But I just want to reiterate something you said. If another nation tries to strike the United States or its allies, that is a big deal, pure and simple.
Thank you, England. Okay, Joe?
Thank you very much, General. You made a very cogent point that deterrence consists of capabilities multiplied by will. It seems to me the reciprocal of deterrence is assurance, reassurance. That means, how do our allies and friends look at the U.S. commitment? This morning we had a discussion about South Korea, the growing sentiment in South Korea that they need to have their own nuclear capabilities because they cannot rely on the U.S. And there's some sentiment to that degree in Japan as well. And then just last week we see the president of the Philippines saying he's moving his commitment from the U.S. to China. So we get the sense that some of our allies don't have the assurance that our deterrent capabilities are really working, that our capabilities are not matched by our will. Do you sense that in your own dealings with your counterparts from other countries?
Well, I will tell you that when I look at the commitment, I can specifically talk about this administration because that's who I work for. The commitment to modernize the nuclear force has happened, and the increase in funding for the nuclear force has happened every single year that the president has been in power, and every budget that has gone forth shows a commitment